People joining in here. We're going to be podcasting with Creative Percussion, which I know that some of you, it looks like you're probably his followers. So I'd imagine you know who this guy is here. So, all right, cool. We're live. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Instagram. Looks like you got people shouting you out already, man.
Cool. What's up, everybody? Hey, Charles Davis, one of my first artists.
On Creative Percussion?
Yeah, he was in Feeney Custom Drums before I was Creative Percussion.
Wow, that's awesome. Awesome. We're gonna be chatting about this world, so I guess he's part of it, huh?
Oh yeah, he's a big part of it.
All right. You ready to do our thing here?
Sure.
All right, I just got my little kickoff thing here, and then we'll do our thing. So, welcome back to the Waking Up From Work podcast. You're listening to episode 108 of the show today. This is your host, Dave Swollam, and another interview tonight. This is finally me tapping back into my drum world here, but with someone a lot more than just drums here. We've got someone that is a creative, a builder, and a drummer, bringing all of those pieces together. So we've got Kevin Feeney here from Creative Percussion. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for being on the show, man. Thanks for dealing with all my tech wave that I slapped you with, and you're just trying to jump on the show. So thanks for fighting your way through to hang with me, man.
Thanks for having me. It's very cool.
Yeah. So for people out there that don't know Creative Percussion, don't know you, Kevin, do you want to just run our audience through like what is Creative Percussion about? How did all of this happen?
Well, we pretty much, it's me and my wife. I do all of everything, and she does all of the stuff in the office and takes care of that. Keeps me in line for the most part. We make unique products using different materials. I started out with making twist rods, which were a better version, I thought, of regular multi rods that just kept falling apart. Yeah. And then beaters. I was always making bass drum beaters, and now we've morphed into all kinds of metal stuff. I've only been working with metal for a couple of years, so I was a cabinet maker and carpenter my whole life. So everything just kind of morphed into metal recently, and it just took off, and I'm pulling some really cool stuff out of just basic steel, which is pretty cool.
So for those out there that don't speak any type of percussion talk at all, because I know we've got like kind of a mixed audience of creatives out there, Kevin is a drummer, a lifelong drummer. And it sounds like you straight up started making things for yourself. You're like, hey, I want a drum beater that sounds this way, or I'm sick of my hi-hat stuff falling apart or whatever. And you just had the skills to like scratch your own itch, if I'm picking up what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was a kid, my dad was a drummer. So when I was a kid, he was always cleaning his drums and take care of them and, customizing certain things to fit him better. And when I was 12 or 13, my brother went to the dump, because we used to be able to dump pick back in those days. That's how we got all of our bikes and learned how to work on bikes and stuff. And he found about 15 drums at the dump. Somebody threw away, all different colors, like
wow.
three 20-inch bass drums, 4 12-inch rack toms, and they're all different colors. The heads were smashed, and so we went and got them. And I took them all apart, cleaned everything, put new heads on them, wrapped them in black contact paper, like a glossy contact paper. And that was the first kit that I really worked on. I always had drums as a kid, so that kit was kind of cool because it was really big. So we ended up turning it into a Neil Peart type of setup, and my friend kept borrowing them because he didn't have drums. So we called them the dump drums. And so every time he would gig out, his singer would say dump drums, dump drums, dump drums. But he kept borrowing them, and I ended up selling them to him, and he gigged out quite a bit with them. So it's pretty funny.
So you took some drums that you found in the dump.
Yep.
Fixed them up and then lent them to a drummer. So you have someone that doesn't have drums that's using the dump drums and then buys the dump drums for you and like straight up just takes them to go.
Yeah, yeah. He was. I was his roadie for a long. I'd go to his gigs and help him set up. With my drums and stuff. And he is an amazing drummer. And now he owns his own sound company with his brother. So it's pretty cool. Shout out to Marathon Sound and Brian Callahan. He was a good friend since middle school.
Awesome. Also New Hampshire based?
Yep. We were both grew up in Salem.
Oh, cool. So for those out there, I never even mentioned it. You're right out of New Hampshire. So I think that I found you because Jeff Beck, who was on from Exeter Drumworks, was like, hey, you should check out Creative Percussion sometime. And then I checked out all your stuff and I was like, whoa, all this is sick. And then it was like a year or something before I actually like hit you up. And I must have seen your stuff or something. I was like, oh damn, I totally want to interview that guy. And then I hit you up and you were like, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I
But you're
remember
New
that.
Hampshire based.
Yep. Jeff and I talk a lot. We're gonna do a collaboration soon, and so hard with both of us got so much going on. Um, Trying to collaborate with anybody is hard. I'm not even taking any repair work or anything that's not creative percussion related, because I'm doing that 7 days a week as it is. So even if
Wow.
I'm caught up on orders, there's still a million things to be made because we pretty much make all of our own parts. So um, from bass drum beater shafts to you know every other part is we make. I make. So it's tough to find reliable people that want to make small quantities. So I end up learning how to do it and take it on ourselves. So it's been an interesting ride. We started this in 2017.
Okay.
2018 was my first full year. I had my own home improvements business before that, but I also have a really bad back and knees and everything else from years of playing hockey and drums and construction. So
Like
um,
everything that could be
yeah,
bad for your body all
right,
at
right,
one spot.
right. So I ended up going full time, and the first year was hairy. It was very difficult to try to get out there and try to get people to recognize you. And even now there's so many great companies out there making really great products, and it's you try to stand out with your own style, and not copy. I try not to follow a lot of other companies because I don't want to
Be
get
them.
in. Yeah, I don't want to get influenced by them. So whatever comes to me, I have stuff come to me in dreams, and or I'll have an idea and I'll do it and it doesn't work out. And I'm like, well, it's not waste of time. And sure enough, a couple of weeks later, that technique that I used to make that first one comes into play on something totally new,
Hmm.
and that product goes through the roof. So that's happened numerous times. It's been pretty cool.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, like it's funny the way that you're talking about it. Like I would say drummers are like two different ways. Like one way is like really brand loyal where they're like, I only use this style cymbal. I only use this
Yeah,
drumstick. I only buy these kits and they're like really brand loyal. And then they're also like they follow the sound too. Where like if you can get that thing in front of them, I feel like people hear some things and they're like, I'm not even paying attention to brand or anything. Like I just am obsessed with the sound of this thing and I need to
right,
use this thing because they think
right,
right away with how can I use this sound in this song or they like
right.
apply it to something and that's like what probably gets
Yeah.
them in.
And a lot of our products, we are trying to replicate electronic sounds acoustically. So a lot of our metal stuff is especially for drummers that don't want to rely on bringing some kind of effects or running backup tracks or any of that. If they can do it by themselves sonically, it's pretty cool, and to do it
Yeah.
live and to have that option. So we try to make all of our products as versatile as possible, and multi-use, not just a stack, but a stack that you can use on your hi-hats, as like a ching ring. A lot of our stuff will have more than one use. And I find more uses down the road too, which is pretty cool because I'm always experimenting in the shop.
That's interesting. Yeah. So I guess like I want to jump into like a bunch of different pieces of questions for you on things. I guess I want to first just like understand like the transition of like how we got here, because 2017 is not new in the sense that you've been around from 2017 to 21. That's really good for a business. That means that you're doing something right. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, we
but
don't.
2017 is kind of fresh, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been making drums my whole life. In 2010, oh no, 2008 to 2010, I probably made 30 snare drums. I made one for
Wow.
Chad Smith for when he was in Chickenfoot, which was awesome because he was such a big. That album was such a big influence for me. I had the Chickenfoot logo on it. I made one for Daniel Adair for one of the Nickelback albums because he's just a phenomenal drummer.
Wow.
I made one for Pat Torpey, who was one of my all-time favorite drummers for Mr. Big. And then I made one for Vader because I was hanging around with Vader at the time.
Cool.
I made a Miami Dolphins one for a guy in Miami. Made my dad a New York Jets one. I mean, a Giants one. So I did some really cool, wild ones. But I
That's
still have
awesome.
I still have one of the first kits I built in this phase with Keller Shells. I think I built it in '95. And it went through some floods in the old house and stuff. That was the shop kit for a while. And
Dang.
so my kit that I play out with is my favorite kit. It's red satin flame. When my dad was probably when I was young, my dad had a Slingerland red satin flame kit. So
Awesome.
I wanted something to be like that, you know. So that's an awesome kit. The shop kit now is just all of the new products that I'm making. So all the videos that I do in the shop, everything is done with my phone and one overhead podcast mic. That's it. No effects, no mixing, no nothing. So what you hear is what you get.
And they
Took me,
sound good. I told you
yeah.
that
I
on the
mean,
phone. They sound good, man. They
yeah.
sound good.
So I've experimented with a couple of other mics, like a clip-on lapel mic, and but this one, just for where it is in the room, just sounds good, and I just leave it there. So,
Don't mess with a good thing, right?
yeah. So I mean, those things are very time-consuming. Trying to make videos for all the products, and then everything is done on my phone. Everything is mixed on my phone. I use an app called InShot for all the video editing and add filters and all that stuff. Very simple. So I can go sit down and do a video and with a new product and edit it and have it done in 10 minutes now. So
You like have to like for you, like you're saying, like you're working 7 days a week right now doing this
right.
stuff right now. I'm the same way where like we have a YouTube channel and it's like people ask me what I use on it, and I'm the same way. Like I'm getting stuff where like I have this like Instagram, you guys can't see it, but Facebook, I have like this little stand here with a mic that I put my phone in, and I get like some gimbals and I get some cool stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just my phone because I will get that done. Whereas like I know a DSLR or something, you add the mics and whatever, you can add all this stuff and it's going to look and sound better, but it's like done is better than perfect any day. It's like you
Yeah,
can only do so much, you know?
I don't have the time, and I have a kit at the shop. I basically work out of it's a 2-car garage. I'm working out of 625 square feet, and
Dang.
and last year alone, I think we added 30 or 40 new products. And
Wow.
a lot of the stuff is made to order. But the way I have the shop set up, I'm able to make things very quickly. They're either in stages and just have to be assembled, but a lot of parts could be used in many different places, so that I don't have to have a huge inventory. And then
Smart.
I'm constantly working on new stuff. You can ask anybody, and just ask my wife if she's like, oh, no, we got to add that to the website, and so. But it's been a good year. It's people have, I think, drummers sat home and discovered new things and new ways to play and new sounds, and I think we had a lot to do with that for a lot of our customers this past year.
I bet. Yeah, people were home. Hopefully we got some drummers back, because I know that we've been losing some drummers over some of the electronic music over time. So hopefully we got some good people that jumped into being drummers this year with COVID. Maybe
Right.
they started being drummers, and then I bet you a bunch of those drummers that were at home, they're like, I've been playing the same thing forever. I got to mix this up. I got to find new sounds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a lot of our stuff too will make you a better drummer because they're done. You're going to play them with different motions. You're going to add different motions to your playing to get the sounds. Like we have a thing called a head scratcher. It's a metal ring with a mesh head and you put it on top of your snare drum and you get that DJ scratching sound. So
Whoa.
yeah, it's really, really cool. Um,
Wow.
so, I mean, it's just different stuff, but it's a different motion, So your left hand has to do that. It's like patting your head and in your stomach at the same time. Moving your hand on your
Rubbing
stomach.
your
So,
tummy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyone that's played it takes a little bit to get used to and to find that motion, which is really cool. So
You better be a brush player, right? You better have
yeah,
already been playing brush, or else you're gonna have a hard time.
yeah, it's hard. Like I try to get it with my left hand, so you have to grip the stick tight to get that sound, but to get the backbeat, you have to loosen up. So it's just a constant change of grip and motion, which is really really cool. But we had a couple of guys using the right hand for the backbeat, so just the left hand was the sweeping motion, which was really cool. One of our artists, Chris Georginas, did an amazing video with that. Um, but finding anything that any new product or looking at and say, how is this going to make me a better drummer? And I try to look at that
Mm.
with a lot of our products, like, well, how has this made me better? All of our hi-hat attachments, whether it be jingles, anything that we put on our hi-hats. I was never a hi-hat timekeeper. That wasn't my thing. I would use it in between notes, like, just a one note in between. I wouldn't keep constant time with it.
Yeah,
This
like
has made
jazz players.
Yeah, this has made me be a better drummer in that aspect, where I'm using my left foot to keep time with something on it, whether it be our can shaker or any of our shaker products. We also have this really cool. It's called a rebound clutch. So it's a split clutch that goes between whatever you're putting on your hi hats, and it allows that product to bounce up and down. So you could actually get 16th notes out of it, but you're only playing eighths. So you're getting that chatter back and forth, and it's
Even when you're coming down the opposite direction.
well, if you're just keeping straight time with it, it's bouncing up and down. So, like, especially our can shaker, the thing when I designed the can shaker, you could never get a shaker on a hi hat because it was never loud enough, and you couldn't get enough motion.
Right.
So, in order to get more motion, I added the two spring clutches. So now that it's bouncing between the two springs, you're getting much more movement and much more sound.
Wow.
So it works for jingles, works for anything. You can get some really cool stuff with it.
So how do you I know, like, it's a really cool blend of your backgrounds that this kind of like formed, because you were a builder. So it's like you were a builder, and I'm sure that there's some of your brain that's thinking about, like, how do I create this thing that's not even like musical at that moment, but then you're a drummer and you've been a drummer. So you're obviously also, like, in your process must be thinking partially like, what's this going to sound like, and like, how do I play this, and there's like that whole other side of the brain. There's another total different side of the brain. How does your process work when you're like coming up with the stuff? Is it always like just like messing around until things are like happening, or do you have like a plan going into it? You said you hear some in dreams. Like, what's like some of that process look like, Kevin?
Both ways. I mean, I've been a carpenter and cabinet maker my whole life, so I spent my life in hardware stores looking for certain parts for whatever I'm working on, and then I'll see something else and go, oh, what that sounds like, or what I can do with that. I'll be in a restaurant and I'll look at the sugar shaker or something. I'm like, that's got a really cool shape to it. I want to make a shaker or something in that, and
are you ever walking around like in places with the salt shakers and stuff like that, shaking them around, and people are like, what the hell are you doing, Kevin?
I just kind of eyeball the shape, and sometimes I'll shake it, or everything, not everything, but a lot of things have sound. You just have to figure out how, like with shakers, we'd use these plastic baseballs and putting the right material in to get the right sound. That takes, there's a lot of lot of work that goes into that to get to that point. And then some products I just think of, they either come to me in a dream or I just think of it, and the next day I go in, or talking to this has happened a lot, talking to a couple of our artists, and yeah, I'm looking for this, and I'm like, oh, I could do this. And I said, like 10 minutes later, I went and I made it, and then I sent him a picture of it, and he's like,
Wow.
yeah, that's how our FX post started. With our was talking to one of our artists, Seth, and he was looking for something, and now that's one of our our best products, that you can have stuff off of your snare drum. It goes underneath a tension rod and uses our clutch, and you can switch things out. And so it's a very interesting process to talk to other guys and what they're looking for. I might already have something, I mean, years of keeping a book and product ideas in my head, and I got a digital diary in my phone, and pictures scattered amongst, and I'll work on something like our Hyposphere bass drum beater. I bought these stainless steel spheres, and I wanted to make shakers out of them, and I drilled a hole in it, put the media in. There was no sound. They sounded like crap. So I was like, put them on. They sat on my bench for a year, and I looked at it. I wonder if I can make a bass drum beater out of that. And then I started, hammering it, and that was weird. Did I lose you?
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's all gurgled.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine right now. Yeah.
I think it's on your end.
Interesting.
You sound like you got one of those throat trachea things.
Weird. Okay. I don't know how to fix that. Is it just on Instagram?
Yeah, you sound like you got a voice altering.
Okay.
Very strange.
Any better now?
Do you hear that in yours? In your ears?
No, I don't. No, I don't hear anything. You're hearing it though.
Wow.
Still.
That's really strange.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound like an alien.
Dang. Okay. Maybe I'll back out of here and then come back in. I don't know how else to.
Yeah, because your lips aren't even moving on the screen.
Okay. So I'm gonna I'll get out of here and then we're gonna come back in. Okay. People on Instagram, you can hang out because I think that you guys can hear me. I'm gonna jump out on Facebook here.